And now, we come into the finale of the Oscars 2018 animated reviews, as Brian reviews the Oscar-winning animated film, Coco. So, does Brian think this film from Pixar deserved the Oscar, or did one of the other four deserve it?
Okay. I'll end this wrestling announcement thing. I just did that on purpose. In terms of the Best Animated Feature category, there is only one animation studio that has received the most wins in this category. Well, I just stated, it's Pixar. They have a total of 11 nominations, tying in with DreamWorks Animation, but they have a total of 9 wins, more than any other studios in this category, as they won for Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, a 4-year win streak with Ratatouille, WALL-E, Up, and Toy Story 3, then Brave, Inside Out, and now comes with Coco. Join us next year as this is giving to Incredibles 2. Not for the popular film though, because it will lose more ratings. And also, it will be their 10th win in this category next year. Anyways, let's get this final review started! The Oscar-winning animated film is directed by Pixar veteran Lee Unkrich, who was a co-director on Toy Story 2, Monsters, Inc., and Finding Nemo. And he made his directorial debut with Toy Story 3, which not also won for Best Animated Feature, but it was one of the 10 films nominated for Best Motion Picture, but lost to The King's Speech. Now comes in his passion project of the Day of the Dead, as this focuses on a 12-year-old boy named Miguel, who has a passion for music, all thanks to his idol, Ernesto de la Cruz. But his family hates music, since his great-grandmother Mama Coco's parents divorced because the father wanted to be a music sensation. So Miguel looked at the picture of Mama Coco's parents without the father's head, and believes that Ernesto de la Cruz is his great-great-grandfather. So when he borrowed his guitar, he ends up in the land of the dead, where he meets all of his relatives, which are now skeletons, including his great-great-grandmother. However, he ended up in a curse. If he does not get a blessing from her great-great-grandmother and father before sunrise, he will be part of the dead. So he, along with the dog Dante, teams up with another skeleton named Hector, who wants to go to the Day of the Dead, but he can't since he's being forgotten from one of his living relatives. So both of them team up to go and find his great-great-grandfather. The writing of this film by Andrea Molina, who is also a co-director for this film, and Matthew Aldrich, with these two, Jason Kotz, giving the story concept for the script, was incredible. Definitely one of the best original screenplay films next to The Shape of Water, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and The Big Sick. And I can't even go more on the writing here because it will be spoiler territory. As for the characters, the only memorable ones here are Miguel, Hector, Dante, and the family members of the dead. But the current family members, with the exception of Mama Coco, are not in it that much, but it does go in a predictable way on what the family would do. They don't approve on something, but then at the end they will approve it. As for the animation, the production design is beautiful on how they bring the culture into a fantasy field in both of the Day and Land of the Dead, especially for the backgrounds. As for the designs of the characters, the only thing I didn't like are the eyes. For the skeletons, I get it, but for the humans, it feels too big. At least they're not going into cartoon territory. And then there's the heart of the film, with a powerful message about loving your family, which brings up to the Oscar-winning original song, Remember Me, written by Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez. And this song definitely deserved the win, and I'm glad it won over This Is Me from The Greatest Showman. In terms of what my favorite version is, it would be the one in the credits by Miguel, the singer, and Natalie Lafourcade. Overall, this is an amazing movie. Definitely a must-watch, but it's also a family film to watch with your... Overall, this is an amazing film. Definitely a must-watch, but it's also a film to watch with your family, and on the Day of the Dead. And now comes in the ranking on my least favorite to the best. At number 5, Ferdinand. It does bring the spirit of the original children's book, and John Cena gives a good performance, but the side characters are somewhat forgettable and annoying, especially with Lupe. and of course, the cartoony animation. At number 4, Loving Vincent. Although it looks beautiful for being the first oil-painted animated feature, and the last minutes of the movie builds up the situation to Vincent van Gogh's death, but it gets confusing when interacting with the other characters, and some animation in the characters looked unfinished, when the actors were doing it in a green screen. Number 3, The Boss Baby. Yeah, it's surprising it's not at the bottom, and I think it's kind of underrated, like I said in the review, with the script having a heart and great voice acting, but the humor is not that good, and all the supporting characters are forgettable, and again, the cartoony animation. Number 2, The Breadwinner. Definitely the best independent animated film of the year, as for the only 2 independent films I've seen so far, with a perfect adaptation and beautiful animation, however, with the film giving me Mulan vibes, but it's in a different culture, it's rather debatable. And my number 1, and the one that did deserve the Oscar, is of course, Coco. From its writing to the animation, except for the eyes, and the characters are definitely worth for a family. So in total, it's almost the same order I did for these reviews, but The Boss Baby moves 2 spots up between the 2 indie films. In terms of the nominations, I would definitely say Coco and The Breadwinner deserve the nominations here, but in terms of the others, not really, despite me saying The Boss Baby is kind of underrated. I can see why people were not happy about this lineup. And the reason why The Boss Baby and Ferdinand got nominated is because the Academy had changed the voting. Instead of the animation branch voting for the nominations, it's now every member of the Academy that's voting for this, which is kind of a bad thing. Not because of them voting for bad films, but this could shut out the independent films. Which is still ironic that The Breadwinner and Loving Vincent still got in here. There were other films that could have been in here, like The Big Bad Fox and Other Tales, Mary and the Witch's Flower, The Girl Without Hands, Despicable Me 3, despite it being the weakest of the trilogy, and the DreamWorks movie that should have been their awards contender, Captain Underpants, the first epic movie. But the 2 films that people were upset that didn't get nominated were the Lego Batman movie and A Silent Voice. For the Lego Batman movie, it followed the same snub way like the Lego movie did. But it was one of the only good animated films that came out last year. And for A Silent Voice, a lot of anime fans claim it as the best animated film of the year, including for Stuckman, but if you're not a Japanese animated film by Studio Ghibli, it would be hard to get in that category. And with the rule change, a possibility that Hotel Transylvania 3 Summer Vacation might get nominated. If that is, then I have to watch the first 2 in order to understand the third one. Despite of that rule change on the voting, I still agree with the Academy here with Coco. Not only it deserved the win for Best Animated Feature, but also for Best Original Song for Remember Me, which I said in the review. And speaking of which, I actually have to say something. I actually want to give a special shout out to all my fellow classmates of the class of 2018 who graduated with me this past June at the Williamsport Area High School. Now today is August 31st, and last week a lot of my friends from the class had departed their home from college to the workforce, to serve in the military, or even being in a country for 1 year. It's a very sad occasion that we all have to say goodbye to one another and move on to a new chapter for experiences of the world outside of our homes, our county, or even our state. By making our passion dreams come true, like Miguel in this movie when he has the passion for playing music, we all have a passion on careers we want, even myself here. Even though some of us won't see each other for the rest of our lives, but we all need to remember each other. So here's my dedication to my fellow classmates.
Remember me, though I have to say goodbye. Remember me, don't let it make you cry, for even if I'm far away, secrets home to you. Each night we are apart, remember me. Though I have to travel far, remember me. Each time you hear a sad guitar, know that I'm with you, the only way that I can be, until you're in my arms again. Remember me. Still be called Breadwinner. When darkness starts to fall, for even though we're far away, we take us everywhere to sing a secret to ensue. I'm with you, been in there, Breadwinner. Though I have to travel far, Breadwinner. Each time you hear a sad guitar, know that I'm with you, the only way that I can be, until you're in my arms again. Breadwinner. If you close your eyes and let the music play, keep on love, will never fade away. If you close your eyes and let the music play, keep on love, will never fade away. If you close your eyes and let the music play, keep on love, will never fade away. Remember me, for I will soon be gone. Remember me, and let the love we have live on, and know that I'm with you, the only way that I can be. So until you're in my arms again, remember me.
And with that, Animated Week here comes to an end, as well as the Oscar reviews on the documentary foreign language and animated films of 2018. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and tell me in the comments what is your favorite out of the 5 and what would be your animated lineup. So thank you all for watching these past weeks for these reviews, and I'll see you guys soon.